Hello, everybody. Welcome back. And with me today on the block is Jonathan. How are you doing today, Jonathan?
I'm doing great.
You're doing
Such a
great.
good episode.
Oh, you enjoyed it?
Oh, you know I did. I did.
Oh boy. Okay. I was going to ask you, your overall thoughts on the episode, but that says a lot. If this is your first time here on the block, please make sure you do us a favor and subscribing to Reality Pop. It's your new space for all things reality. So we are talking today about episode 7 of Big Brother Canada, and Jonathan really enjoyed this episode. Me, it was entertaining, but my blood was boiling. It was so boiling. It starts off the episode with Toya and Kiefer talking. They were just put on the block. They go upstairs into the bedroom, and Toya is kind of frustrated because she wasn't ever planning on nominating Victoria, and I think that that's actually true. Victoria was never somebody that was completely on, from what I had seen, Latoya's radar. I don't know if she's ever been like, I'm going to work with you for sure, but she never was coming for her. So I understand Latoya kind of being annoyed by the fact that, like, she's being put on the block when she was never a target of Victoria. And then Kiefer is also kind of saying that he deserves to be on the block because of what he said or what he did. How do you feel about Kiefer suggesting for himself to be a nominee because he said Victoria's name?
I mean, when you're aligning with people early and you're going to lock in like that and you don't know them, you need to make sure that they're of sound mind and, not loose cannons and things like that. And I think he's playing such a bad game. But Latoya exposed, the fact that everyone knows in the house that she's working with the two guys so early on, that's just not a good game to me. So I feel like they have smart people in their six. They have strong people, but like Tina's the smartest one. She's like, I'm gonna slowly back away from this alliance of six a little bit because of the fact that there are some loose cannons and there's people who are showing their cards and all these other things so easily. That's also part of the game too. So Kiefer is someone I would not align with, and I would try to remove myself from associating with him. I like him, but he's just kind of all over the place and yet willing to take certain bullets for the team when do they really have his back? I don't really know. And I don't know. It just keeps, if it's like go left, he should have went right. If it's go right, he should have went left. It just seems like he does the opposite of what a lot of I would do if I was in his situation. And again, there was a little bit of talk about playing emotionally. Latoya specifically saying that she doesn't. I disagree. That I think she does, but that's what you need to do. And he's such an emotional player, and he needs to like kind of step out of it for a second and really assess what he should do in a situation. And there's a lot of people in the house who also just are willing to like own up to stuff and just be like, yeah, I did this, and I don't want to work with you. I'm done. And like early on in the episode where Kiefer was saying that to Rowan, it was just like, I'm like, okay. I'm like, just, you're on the block. He's not. You think you would kind of trying to massage it a little bit and just say, look, I understand. I get it. I don't blame you. Just not like, no, forget it. We're done. And it's just such a silly move, I think. And there's a lot of that. And there's several people
I definitely think that Kiefer's playing a bit of he's not playing a great game. He says a lot. I don't know if it's shown in the episode or if it's just on the feeds, kind of like, I'm not meant for this. Like, this is a lot harder than I was expecting, and kind of lamenting on like, the difficulties of this game, and that, he wants to go home and he misses his family, which is, it could be gameplay maybe to make people feel as though you don't necessarily want to be here, but he could be like a perpetual pawn type thing. Maybe that's what he's trying to maneuver, or he doesn't want people to think that he wants to be here that much, so they will keep him. So if it's gameplay, okay, it's annoying, but like fine. I'm just from the school of never make it okay for your head of household to put you on the block. And it seems like he was like, here, Victoria, here, put me on the block. It's okay. I feel bad and I want to make it look good in front of my kids. So put me on the block as my punishment. And I just didn't like that he did that. and that he's still doubling down, and he thinks that it was the right thing to do to suggest to her to put him on the block, you know?
It is. And like I said, there's several people playing like that. Like I think Victoria's playing that like that, but I love it this week. It works in my favor for what I want to see happen in the game. I think Latoya's playing like that, and I think he's playing like that. But it's just not smart to do, to be flip-floppy, to be very open about it at the same time. And then, you know, I get the struggle. I mean, I'm not in the house. It must be, you know, so psychologically demanding and just very difficult to kind of like always be on and always be playing. But you don't want to show people your emotional roller coaster outwardly. Keep some of that in. Take like, he's the type of person who needs to be like, this is what I'm thinking. Let me take a day before I decide what I'm going to do with how I'm feeling and thinking about stuff, rather than just doing it.
Take a deep breath. He needs to hold up.
Take a couple breaths. A couple of them need to do that.
Sorry, Latoya and Kiefer were kind of joking around and chatting. I can't remember exactly what they were joking around about, but the fact that like they're dumb and they're on the block, and like it was just something about making fun of the Sunsetters, I believe, and how the both of them are on the block. Ha ha ha. And Rohan walks in, and I remember seeing the scene when the full scene when it actually happened, and it wasn't a joke or a thing that you could really retell, being like, oh yeah, he said that da da da, and then I said da da da, and then like it wasn't one of those things. And so Latoya says like, oh, like you'll I'm sure another thing will happen tonight, or you'll find out tonight. And
I mean, and it's the way Latoya was saying it too, because it was like he overheard fireworks and he was like, oh, and then they're like, you'll see tonight or whatever. And I'm like, that's like a threat almost.
And then fireworks was what Kiefer said after the fact. And I was like, I didn't know why he said fireworks, because it didn't actually have anything to do with what they were saying. And it actually really made a big deal out of absolutely nothing, because nothing was being said. There was no big plan that was being hatched. And Rohan runs his way downstairs to go and tell everybody.
Of course, as he should. But at the same time, it's like, what are you guys doing? This is what I was saying just 2 minutes ago, where it's like Kiefer and Latoya play emotionally. They don't kind of care who sees what. And that's such a mistake for both of them. You needed, if someone walks in, you can't feel awkward. You should have 10 things in your head that you can just run right into. Like, yeah, those fireworks that I saw last, 4th of July was, I mean, whatever he overhears, you just need to run with it. And they just don't care. And that's why it's turning into what it's turning into. And they did nothing to make that better or even attempt to cover it up or win his favor. And if you, first of all, you know how we both have said this before, like never, don't want to get in an argument with the HOH. You don't want to like bully or get an argument or pick on or you just want to win their favor. But also secondary to that, you also want to make sure anyone who's in their ear is in your favor as well. And I don't think either of them are doing a good job with that. And that was kind of part of it, where it's Rohan's in there is in Victoria's ear. So, and that you've called it out. So it's like, I mean, try a little bit. I want them gone. So for me, I'm like, perfect. Just, feed it. That's great. But for their personal game, I'm like, oh, there's so many mistakes happening. And I don't know if it's just emotionally that they're not able to control things, or they just don't care. They don't see it.
I think that for Latoya specifically, I think it's the fact that she doesn't like making promises that she can't keep, and she doesn't like being fake. And those are two things that are very likely to happen within the Big Brother game that she's not willing to do. And that's what is definitely making her become a target. She owns up to her things, which is great, but like, can't you own it up and like kind of cushion it to at least make people not hate you about it,
Or don't. I mean, she does, but she doesn't at the same time. Like, I feel like she keeps a lot of things in, and it's like, if you want to be kind of just a, not telling, but be more like Tina, where you just aren't putting a lot of things out there. So you're not in that position to begin with, where people are coming to you and you have to deny, or you have to tell the truth if you only want to tell the truth. I don't think Big Brother's a place for telling the truth 100% of the time, but I also don't think Latoya does. I think she says she's more honest than she is, and more upfront. What's that?
When did she lied?
It's not a specific lie. It's a many different things. I don't have to literally watch it over and keep notes. It's little things to me when she's like, oh, you know, I'm an upfront person, honest person, yet she's definitely keeping something and not saying something. Like right off the top of my head, I can just remember the first time that Arissa was calling her out and she stood up there and just stated that how honest she is and she keeps it real, but at the same time skirted around the question. So I think if she was really upfront and honest, people would see that. And it was, but she pivots, you know, when certain things are brought up, and then that mixed in with her, she's, you know, very blunt, and you know, not warm and bubbly. So it can potentially rub people the wrong way or come off, you know, a certain way as well. I just don't think the Big Brother's house is a place for not, you know, even like little lies here or there. And if you don't want to do that, great. Some people can have it work for them. I don't see that working for Latoya very well, and I think that's why she's in the position she's in.
Personally,
And then playing recklessly. Like, why are you trying to flip the vote 30 minutes before, walking around to everybody willy nilly so everyone can see it? And this is what happened this week because of it.
I mean, I think last week they should have just, if they were wanting to flip the vote in the end, they shouldn't have been so cute and tried to not have Beth and Kiefer be voting with them and like instead get Latoya or get Victoria and Tara be the other two votes so they had the numbers when they're not working with them. Like if they wanted the vote flip, they needed to just like draw the line in the sand and show the division in the house. Or as soon as they said no, then go to Beth and Kiefer, be like, hey, we already kind of put this flip in motion. We have to make it happen now, or it's like we're screwed next month. That's next week. And they should have made it. They should have made it happen because I think they still had the. Oh wait, Tina wasn't going to do it, so I'm not sure if they actually had the numbers without Tina. But like they should have. If we're going to try it half an hour before, it has to work. Or you're fucked. Like that's just basically it.
Yeah, and then there's no consistency too because you want to keep Beth out of it, but then this week you're like, you know what? Let's the four of us like go and confront her right away.
They didn't want Beth out of it. They just didn't want it to look like the whole Sunsetters were the ones that were doing the flip. They're trying to keep.
But then I'm saying but then this week there was no reason that Beth needed to go in that room with the other ones because like as they were grouping, what we saw every time they grouped Latoya with the two guys, they never said really Beth either. I mean, they've talked about Beth separately.
No, she did though. She said that it's going to be either Ty or Beth. We're going to be the replacement nominees.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but they're not. She's not group. They're not being talked about as a group. Like they're together. Every time they bring up the group, they talk about the three of them. They don't talk about the four of them. So them putting, bringing Beth into.
I believe on the feeds it has that Victoria said that she wanted to work. It wanted to be a 5-sub. So that's I think why Beth was going up there because like it was supposed to be the five of them working together, and so that's why.
Oh, I understand that Beth's outside of that, but I'm just saying.
No, inside of that. She's inside that 5-sub, so it'd be Latoya, Beth, Victoria, and Jed.
That's even worse because Beth. Oh, you mean the 5-sum of working with those guys? Victoria's not really working with those guys.
No, she's not. But that's why the four of them went to Victoria because they're supposed to be working together in a fake alliance, apparently. Because like Victoria's like, oh, I want to work with you guys. I want to work with you guys. I want to work with you guys. And then she's throwing out only them as options for being the Reno.
Because I don't watch the feeds, but for me watching it and what I had seen, I was like, ooh, I don't think Beth should be in that room right now. And it also feels, and regardless, even if they are all in one thing, it just definitely when four of you walk into a room trying to flip the HOH's mind and you know what they want to do, it definitely seems like people usually are defensive in that situation. You need to kind of support it. So like I would have like maybe one person, like two people walk in and then someone come in halfway through and then give their like seemingly like, you know, good cop, bad cop, like kind of opinion, like a separate opinion, but you're in the group so you can kind of stay there. I just don't think they do anything right. It's just very abrasive, a lot of these people. It's not well thought out. I love it. It's great TV. It's fantastic. All this happening so early, fantastic.
Rob has a podcast yesterday and we're doing the ranking of the players, and the highest ranking of anybody was Tina, and she's at a 7. So and everybody else is like 2, 3, 4, 5, like not good at all. So this is out of 10. So
Yeah, a
no
lot
one's
of them.
playing well, but it's definitely enjoyable from an entertainment perspective. But like, if I'm being critical about people's games, like 100%, I agree with you. Most people are playing really terribly, especially with, so Ro goes to Kyle and Austin to complain about what he thinks he overheard with his paranoia kicking in about what Toya and Kiefer said. Kyle wants to go and put his foot down now, and he goes and he wants to go confront Kiefer, who's in the in the kitchen, like not realizing that he's done anything to stir up this hatred right now that Kyle wants to go and have resolved. And so he's just wanting to make a stir fry, and Kyle comes in hot and confronts him. And Kiefer doesn't do even a good job, though, of defending what he was saying. And what I'm tired of, one thing I am tired of, is everybody being like, I don't know, I'm just playing Big Brother, man. Playing Big Brother. It's
That's
like,
Big
okay,
Brother. I'm playing it. You want me to play? I'm playing Big Brother.
I can't take that as an argument.
Kiefer brought that up, and then like Kyle just reiterated. He's like, "Yeah, so I'm playing." They're like, "What do you want?" I mean, again, more emotional moves. Ro and Kyle being emotional, and Kyle seems very chill overall. And first of all, I love that my team, my three remaining players of the draft picks, are all like working together. Essentially, like
Who do you have
Ro,
left?
Kyle, Ro, and Austin.
Oh, I like the best out of your people, but
I like them. I like them all grouped together like that. But I'm like, finally, we're all on the same page. And I love it. And it was just emotional and handled poorly. I mean, I don't think it was too bad for them because they're in an alignment with the HOH this week. But at the same time, was it needed? Like, you always have to think, what is this going to do for my game? If I say something right now, what is that going to benefit my game at all, or is that just me blowing off steam? Because if it's me blowing off steam, I probably shouldn't do it.
Absolutely. And like, while confronting Kiefer, people are kind of just watching, and Latoya overhears whatever kerfuffle was happening in there, and she kind of comes in there and is supporting Kiefer here, because it did come off to me as a little bit of a bullying type attack situation. Like, they're just all like hovering around him and being like, you said this, you said this, you said this, you said this.
It was sharks in the water. Yeah, for sure. Like, they were like swarming, and they're like, hey, so Kiefer, heard you said, like, yeah.
It was a little bit uncomfortable, and I can see that he wasn't really appreciating being in that position, and he doesn't really handle himself well without having the pressure of people like surrounding him. So I was happy that Latoya kind of stepped in there to, protect him and just be like, can we please stop this? And so I like that, even though she's on the block, she still wants to protect her alliance member and her friend in the house. So I like that.
That's the best quality for me that Latoya has within the game, is I think she's extremely loyal to those who are loyal to her. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I appreciate. And, at the same time, though, especially when it, comes to the end of the game, that's a lot of money. And if you make it near the end, sometimes you need to pick whatever's best for your game over people and relationships of people that you just met. So I like that about her a lot, and I'm glad that she walked in and said her piece. Again, not good for her game. She shouldn't have done it, but it's something that I enjoyed watching at the same time.
For sure. I get it. So I wrote down at this point, I'm like, I can't stand Rohan and Kyle. There's something about, stop it. The sound of Rohan's voice, for me, it just grates on my nerves. So it's like he has like an air of arrogance and like elitism and condescension that I just don't feel is warranted. Like, I don't think you're good looking. I don't think you're smart. I don't think that you're great at this game. I don't think you were almost out the door last week. Like, it's so, his braggadocious like vibe, I just am not vibing with. And then Kyle, when he comes in there with his own smug attitude, I'm just like, who put a quarter in both of you and decided that you were king of the Big Brother house? Like, I'm just not feeling it. And you were just salivating over there. Get out of here.
Sure. Yeah, I didn't think it was that bad. I've seen a lot worse in Big Brother US and Canada even, but I didn't think it was that bad. I also don't think that's not appealing to me. I think you didn't love them to begin with, because when we were even on draft picks, they were not, whereas Latoya for me was my number one draft pick that I didn't get to pick. So that was like just me watching it. But yeah, I didn't see that in them. I'm
Kyle's
very
face,
indifferent with Kyle as a person. But seeing how he's, alignment and playing, he's just kind of on the right side for me. So I'm liking him more and more. And he's not a big, he doesn't blow up real. I mean, I think that was his biggest kind of emotional move. And it's like when people have your name in their mouth or saying, certain things about you or the people that you're associated with. I understand that. Again, not the best thing to do, but I don't mind them. I don't.
have to say though, I'm really thinking that the reason why it's so messy is we don't have any air signs in that house. We don't have any rational people thinking in that house. Us air signs, so Aquarius, Libra, and Gemini, all we do is think. We overthink, overthink, game it, like figuring out every scenario. We're always thinking about the game. These other people all operate from a different set point. So most of them are earth signs, earth and water. So water for sure, is going to be super emotional players. But earth signs are also really emotional. They're a feminine, earth is feminine. And so feminine energy tends to be more emotional. It could be more intuitive, but it also means we're reactive and more emotional in that way. And then the other sign is there's a couple of Leo is Tina and Sagittarius is Kiefer. I can't remember if anybody else is any other fire sign, but and Beth is a Leo. And so they if you think about fire is very reactionary, right? Like it just like bursts of fire. They don't necessarily think about things through before they act. So they react and react without having any thoughts about it. So I think that this is why this house is so damn messy, because you don't have one of our logical minds being like, let's not do that. Let's take a moment. Let's think about this approach, as opposed to just reacting immediately in the moment. You're into it, I can see.
No, I love this, because in my head, I'm like, cut to next season, me and Chantal in the house losing our minds, yelling at everybody. I think we're insert that here. I think that, I'm an emotional person for sure, but I do think I'm able to hold most of that in. But I'm not in the house, and I'm also introverted, so I don't know.
You would think about things through. You would think you would have chosen not to do that flip.
Yeah, I would think it through. I would remove myself from situations if at all possible. But I could absolutely see me losing it, and then that's when the Portuguese side of myself will come out, and I would absolutely lose it. You'd be like, Jonathan's removed from the house. But
no. I mean, obviously me too. You can have emotional outbursts, and just because we're air sign doesn't mean that we're not emotional. But we do have our reset is to let's think about this first. We wouldn't have pushed to have that boat flip 30 minutes before. We're like, nope. We would have had it either decided yes or no. Way beforehand.
Yeah, that's too not planned out. You can't think it through. You can't workshop scenarios there. We wouldn't have done that.
No way. It would have been set in stone a day before, And if someone were trying to flip it, I'd probably be annoyed. Be like, no, we're sticking to the plan, babe.
And that's what happened with Victoria. I really think that she was so. That really was a tipping point for her, and it was just too much. And then, it just everything falls into place after that because of it. So
I don't know though if I would be that mad though if someone flipped the vote. I think she was mad about being left out the first vote, and I think that that's kind of where some of the things, her annoyance with Latoya came out, that she didn't care about Victoria's vote enough to make sure that she was in on the plan. So I think that started things off. I think the fact that she's the other, strong Black woman in the house, I think that she has a little bit of just an issue with that happens within all races. There's going to be some sort of that can happen. And then
I don't see that, but I definitely, she had mentioned today that she told her the day before the vote, and then she told her just as it was happening while she was trying to get the flip. And so the fact that she told her several times that that's not what she's interested in doing, and then she was still trying to do it against her, it was like
what they're showing us. But then also things that happen that they haven't showed yet. I don't think they will show, is that this is reasons why Victoria, I think, has it out for Toya. So also she went to Toya, Jed, and Ty. I think it was just the three of them to form an alliance, and they were kind of like, yeah, sure, of course, blah, blah, blah. Like they didn't solidify it. They didn't put all hands in. They didn't name it, whatever. And she came super excited about an alliance, and then she kind of left before like they even said yes or no or solidified anything. And then the week ended, and then this happened, and now she's HOH, and they never officially solidified anything. Now I'm thinking
did they show a little bit of that last week when they were talking about having, this many black people? And how was it the four of them that had that conversation?
That was
it just the three, or was it the four?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do think though too that they even called it, I think Jed called it, she's a little bit jealous of Toya having a good relationship with these two guys. Like she wants to step into that position because on the feeds, it also shows her being annoyed now that Beth is in really good with Jed and Ty, and Victoria really wants to have that sweet spot. So there's something about the dynamic of her wanting to be those two guys is number one, and kind of trying to cut all the women that are closer to them, it seems, is her MO, which is very emotional.
But, as we saw today, she was willing to put one of them up potentially.
Oh, they didn't show this either. But after the whole, we don't know what happens yet. Never mind. I forgot. Why isn't it to be continued? Can you explain that to me, please?
So annoyed. I'm like, why, what is the trend of not showing? We're not going to show HOH on the HOH day. We're not going to show Veto on the Veto day. Like, what are you doing? Why is this happening?
Just so you know, that Veto's ceremony is supposed to be on Mondays. Like, that's the day of the week that Veto's ceremony is supposed to be. They did it on Sunday. So when you heard that announcement in the show, it was a day earlier than it usually is. So it was kind of, they're all like,
that's why they're all like, what? Yeah.
Why is that happening an hour from now? When that's when the feeds were super good. Like there was so much fighting. People were coming in, talking, like trying to change things. Like there was so much action. And
we lost Chantel. But I agree. There was so much action that had happened. And are you back?
Oh my God, I'm back. Okay.
You're back. Yeah, you were saying that there's so much action.
Oh yeah, there's so much action before the veto ceremony happened. Like everybody was coming in and out of rooms, and it was just really good feeds. And then they said, an hour until the veto ceremony, and then obviously after that happens, there's no feeds, no good feeds, anyways, because a decision has been made. There's nobody trying to change the outcome of anything. So I didn't understand why they pushed it and made it quicker, and then why they didn't show it on Wednesday. It happened.
They're like, wait, we want this to happen, and this is what's happening right now. So let's just make the veto ceremony right now.
But then why aren't they showing it on Wednesday?
I don't think I've ever, that I remember, have seen a to be continued for a veto.
Why? Who cares?
Like, just do it.
Who cares about?
Because eviction's tomorrow, so you're gonna have eviction and the veto.
They're probably not going to show the outcome. It's probably going to be an endurance.
No, but it's going to be literally the same day, like eviction, the veto if it's being used, and replacement nominee potentially, and then eviction's going to be all the same day, and then the start of an HOH, maybe all of the HOH. I'm like, that's like almost like a full week in a day. Like, you know what I mean? That's such a weird, I don't know why they're doing this.
Well, maybe it'll make sense tomorrow. But like,
maybe they just wanted like a cliffhanger. Maybe they're trying the cliffhanger angle, and they're like, you know what? We're just going to make every episode a cliffhanger, so we're not going to show anything.
That's so stupid. Literally, this happened on Sunday. Like, I get excited for when Wednesday comes, like, so everything's at least caught up, or Thursday, at least everything's caught up, because, like, I already know all this stuff that's going on. Like, I like, at least when Wednesday happens, like, I can talk about things that have happened, you know? It's so stupid. Okay, what else happened?
Sorry, my dog just ran over my little light here and unplugged
it. That's okay. He's super cute. So Tara is annoyed that Kyle and Rohan are bringing negative attention to that newly formed group. So the Oddballs were formed, and that is going to be Tina, Tara, Rohan, Kyle. Victoria is kind of in it but not in it, and then Austin and Brayden, if I'm not mistaken, is the oddball. So everybody except for the
is Tina in that? Yeah, I didn't understand like a clear definition of who was in these oddballs that they're talking about. I like that. Tina.
They're saying the oddballs are basically everybody except for the four of them. So Beth, Jed, Latoya. I think even I think Kiefer's kind of grouped into that, but not specifically, you know? I don't know. Yeah. Anyways, point being is that Tara's annoyed that Kyle and Rohan kind of put some negative attention on their group. And all of a sudden now, Tara and Tina have like this thing going on that I thought that Tina had with Toya, which I was really vibing with. What do you think about the Tina and Tara show?
Yeah, I mean, I think Tina sees that like Tara's really level-headed seemingly. So, and they'll probably find themselves in similar middle-ish positions. So it makes sense, you know, for them to kind of be grouped together in that sense. And yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I liked how when they were talking about it, though, Tara was like saying how she had a frustration that it wasn't kind of discussed and she was kind of ambushed as well, because she would have said like Kiefer, like, no, you did say this, Kiefer. So I mean, again, that just speaks to how emotional of a play that was for Rohan and Kyle to do. But you know, I liked how she had said that, because it wasn't all just like, why did they do this, why did they do this, why did they do this. It was like, oh, why did they do that? Because I should have reacted differently, and I'm kind of mad at myself that I didn't, you know, wasn't given that opportunity. So I like that. She's thinking. She's smart.
Well, I don't think that it would have been a good thing for her to do either, as like, oh, so Kiefer says something to you, Tara, and then you go tell Rohan and Kyle about it. And
I mean, I think it's gathered anyway, right? Because like that had to have happened. Like that's how they know, because that's how it had to have happened. So I feel like he would have known anyway. But you know, she could have picked sides, being like, hey, this is what you know, like I'm siding with you, Rohan and Kyle, as opposed to like, I think that's a moment where you kind of have to pick a side, and she picked neither, which can put you in a bad spot because you aren't like, she didn't back up Kiefer, or you know.
But I don't think it's a really good move for people in her alliance. She's getting information from the other side about things like that Kiefer is saying. And then she goes and tells Rohan and Kyle. Kyle goes and starts yelling at it in an aggressive, both of them yelling at it in an aggressive fashion to Kiefer. Yeah. Everybody starts gathering around them, and then you're going to jump on the bandwagon. Yeah, you said that. Like, I don't know. I would have been very pissed off with Tara jumping on that bandwagon of like using that time. Sorry?
If you were who? Kiefer? You said you would have been pissed off if Tara did that, but if you were who? Because Kyle and Rohan were looking for that support from Tara.
I don't think that that's the appropriate way to approach anybody. I don't
necessarily think so either, but because the situation was already happening, I'm saying from Tara's perspective, she could have been like, yeah, you know, it's going to be gathered anyway that she said something. So it's like, you know, might as well own up to it in front of people. And that way you can support people. And like Kyle and Ro are like, okay, she has my back, as opposed to like Kiefer, who might be on his way out. You know, like, why would you stick your neck out for him and not say anything and just walk out of the room?
I think it's bad. It would be bad all around, because I don't know if they'll show this in the episode, but now Kiefer, Tina, and Tara have formed another little alliance called the Before 90s, I think it's called. And so, like, if she were to do that, she's siding then with Kyle and Rohan, and Kiefer's not going to give her any additional information. So it's
but like Kiefer, she's not aware that Kiefer has people behind him, and he's on the block, and he's like, could be someone that goes out. I don't know. I wouldn't have sided with Kiefer. I would probably like, yeah, you could say that Kiefer and then leave.
She's more aligned with Kiefer than she is with Rohan and Kyle. That's just a fact.
I mean, I wouldn't know that because they haven't shown that. So.
And so, anyways, that's just giving you more context, as it's like she's looking shady boots. Her and Tina are in the middle right now.
Keep talking. I'm gonna go silence my dog. Excuse me for a moment. I left the same moment that Chantal froze. Well, you can see this one here, everyone at home, who's causing all of the barking. Little cameo for the day. Right? It is a little monkey that he takes when everywhere he goes. Oh, and Chantal's left altogether. I'm taking over Reality Pop. You know why? Because I can. So again, this is a situation where Chantal has all the notes, but yeah, we definitely thought that, or I thought, me and Chantal have very different opinions with this week and who we like on the show. But yeah, I thought that it was an interesting situation. I don't think that Kyle should have and Rohan should have kind of jumped in on it. And it's interesting to hear that Tara is maybe aligned more with Kiefer. Although Kiefer's probably pretty safe this week. I'm not quite sure who's going, and I have no idea who won Veto yet because we don't know. But yeah, I'll wait for Chantal to come back before we jump further into the episode. So we'll just come back. We're not gonna do it. Let's pause and we'll come back.
Well, I guess it's just me still. Sorry, guys, for this being super bizarre. Yeah, my internet provider has not been very reliable lately, so it's been rather annoying that it's just been dropping. So I was trying to talk to them today about fixing it, and it's going to take a little while to do so. So I am so sorry. So we were kind of talking about the fact that Rohan is saying that slop has been affecting him and that he wants to go and apologize to Kiefer. And so he does that, and Kiefer doesn't really want to accept his whatchamacallit. Yeah, I know. They're fired, like so fired. I've already canceled it. And now I'm just looking to get a new provider. Because like my actual cycle ends on the 25th, but it's like not like it actually works. Like it still has 8 days left, and it's like so intermittent. It's so annoying. So annoying. Like I'm gonna have to maybe tweet something out because like it's kind of bad. Like kind of really bad. So yeah, so let me just answer what you're saying here, BBan. So is percentage of chance that Latoya is evicted? I would say 95% chance that Latoya is going to be evicted. What do you think, BBan? What do you think? Yeah, and exactly. Fired. Brutal. So what's his name? Kiefer said that there's nothing that we could do to salvage, what had happened. And we talked about this a little bit earlier. Hey, John, I didn't know you were going to leave too. I'm like, no.
I talked for a little bit, and then I'm not doing this by myself. So
why?
I don't have notes, and I'm not. And then my employer texted me, and I'm like, you know what? Let's take a little pause.
Okay, well, BB wants to know what's the chance that Latoya is evicted?
I hope 100%.
Well, you hope, but what do you think?
Oh, I mean, nothing ever happens how I want it, so probably not the case. I mean, I don't watch the live feed, so I don't know if she's. I think if she's not saved, I think there's probably like a good 70-75% that she'll go. But I think there's a great chance that they'll be like, she'll be like, oh, Ryland's insisting on being part of this. Do you think that Latoya's leaving? Yeah.
That's a yes.
And so I mean, but I think yes, if she stays on the block, great chance that she's being taken block. I love that Victoria was like, "It's sorry on the block," and it's kind of like her own people. It was so unexpected. You know, she'd be like, "You know what? Putting him on the block if you use it." So I love that.
The only thing though, like, yes, it's messy and it's interesting to watch, but I don't know how much the other people are going to fight for her to be in the game. And so for her to be burning the bridge with like Jed and Ty, who are physical threats, they're probably going to be targeted next week if one of them doesn't win head of household. But if they do, I could see them coming after her. You know what I mean? Like at this point, they were never before, and now it seems like there's a lot of people that would, just from how this went down.
Oh yeah, she needs someone that she's aligned with to next week, or else she's absolutely on the block. But I mean, that's kind of fine. She, you know, it's a lot of people have kind of made that line in the sand already, and she knows what we're doing. So let's kind of do it, and I'm fine with that. I think it's messy, absolutely. I love it. It makes for great TV. Yeah, do I think Austin would have her back? Absolutely. Anyone else that she's aligned with would put her up? Probably not. Why would you? And if anything, this really highlights and bolds and italicizes the fact that those 2 or 3 are there. And if anyone but them win HOH next week, they're probably the targets of the majority of the people in the house. So, you know, and that could potentially break up really strong. This is what I hope for in most seasons of Big Brother, is the misfits, the oddballs getting together and like, no, this isn't happening for the big, strong, you know, jock-like people. This is what I want. So yes, Victoria, yes, Austin, yes, everyone else who's involved in this, let's do this. And I that's why I'm living for it, because they are the underdog who've band together to get rid of the bigger threat, who's kind of very open that they're together. So I'm
don't actually think though that they've set themselves up really well. Like, sure, they band together for this because Victoria won the head of household, but I just don't think that they're thinking further down the road. I don't think that Rohan and Kyle are somebody to be super loyal to them and keep them safe. And there's a final 6. Like, I don't see that. I think that they're going to do whatever is going to be best for their game. And right now saying that they're aligned with Latoya or Victoria is what is best for their game. So, I mean, we'll see how it shakes out. They were the underdogs until this head of household happened, and I don't find them to be underdogs anymore. And so I'm not rooting for that side at this point. Like, I thought I would be, but I'm actually not rooting for this side. And BB, I don't think is rooting for that side either, because BB says, I guess I agree, because I said 95% she's going home, but I was hoping for a miracle. So I was hoping for a miracle too, because there is a lot of talk on the feeds about stuff like people finding different color balls in the ball pick. So I was like, so I was hoping that there's going to be some. What?
I was just saying that ball pit. I need more of that. Like, search for stuff. I mean, I hope it's not just like a segment of an episode and then a real, like, whatever it is. I hope it's like several episodes where they spend with that ball pit of people like trying to figure stuff out. I love that ball pit.
I know. Well, I mean, you have so many stories. I was wondering if you had another story about the ball pit. That's
just the 2. Just like random birthday Chuck E. Cheese's where I had fun, but no, just the 2 dramatic stories are enough about a ball pit. So.
So I was starting to talk about the fact that Rohan was going to Kiefer, trying to apologize to him. Kiefer wasn't having anything of it. And at the same time, it seems, Kyle was going to Latoya, pulls her in to kind of have a chat and apologize. She accepts his apology, but she said that she didn't feel like she needed to apologize because she was just standing up for something and she doesn't feel like she did anything wrong. So what do you feel about her not even just offering up an apology?
So
needed to.
So he calls her over and I'm like, and she happily accepts, and I'm like, smart Latoya. And you know, I'm like being against Latoya, but I was like, no, it's very, I was fully expecting her to go in there and being like, yep, you know, this is, you know, whatever, make amends, do the typical thing you should do. And then she doesn't. And I was like, oh, I love this. Right? Because she didn't, and she's playing still. Like, I just don't understand her being so stubborn with things. How she thinks she's going to get far in a game where you need to be social, you need to, like, you know, be a little bit more malleable and just kind of work with things. But she's so stuck in what she's decided for herself.
She's also a Taurus, and Taurus are stuck in their ways. They're not easily malleable.
Yeah. It's like, call it, you know, being on, and that's fine. But
hi, Natalie. So how come people of color are always targeted early? Personally, being a person of color, I feel as though our resting presence is already intimidating. And I think that, you know, Latoya already has a lot of presence, and she's also very like strong, and she says things that are very clear and specific, and that is intimidating to a lot of people. And I do feel as though people of color just automatically have a general presence of intimidation without them doing anything. And so I think that's just amplified in the house.
Yeah, and my opinion would be, I think it's twofold. It's I think you're absolutely right. You know, they are target, and it's usually there's a majority of people who have some level of, you know, racism kind of built within them, whether they're real or not. And so that, which explains a lot, I think. But also, I think you're right. It is her personality specific to Latoya as a person, that I think no matter what race or she is, coming in with that kind of toughness to her, even just being a tough female in general, I think scares probably a lot of people. And there's a lot of different bias, you know, involved with that. But yeah, I think she has a couple things. You know, it's the case, and I mean, for me, it was someone who I was like, you know, this is my person. I like tough female, black on top of it, amazing, love it. And then it was then just how kind of up she is and stuff like that. I was like, oh, I don't know that I would. I don't know if I see someone who can get along with everyone in the house. So it kind of worried me for her. And again, her loyalty to people, I think, really connects. But yeah, I'd be really disappointed if it's week after week. You know, some like I want to see some white people kicked out. Okay, but I mean, it was Kyle
so,
or Kyle. What's his name? Josh.
I think that it's going to be all the people of color are going to go against each other. So I feel as though,
but it's like if you're it's like someone in the LGBTQ community or someone who's diverse. I'm like, that's been every week so far, and it's like, it's painful to see.
well, I think next is going to be the people that are going to be up next would be Kyle, Rohan, but I think Kyle stays over Rohan because people like him more, Jed or Ty or Victoria. Those are the people that I would say would be most likely leaving next week. And then, like, unless things change, that's the people who are going to be leaving the next little bit. I don't think a person of color is going to make it very deep into the game. Just because Victoria took this shot that I don't think any of them would have done before this. I think that they were like, it's kind of like, it's usually supposed to be, you know, races stick together even without saying like, okay, we're together no matter what. You know what I mean? There's usually supposed to be like an unwritten rule that you're going to support the other black person in the house, you know, without saying like, okay, we're in this together. So I think that her making that first strike against Latoya, I do think it's going to start the ricochet back and forth with all the black people or people of color in the house, left in the house, and everybody else is going to be pretty much sitting pretty. I don't think
I don't know how many white people are in the house. I don't know. But I think they're more middle, like Tina and Tara. They're more middle ground for me.
Make it far though.
What's that?
They're going to make it far.
Maybe. I mean, I think more like I think they'll make it more middle of the game. That's my prediction for them. Definitely some diversity at the end for sure. And isn't Austin her family? Why am I thinking that she's like, does she have what's her background? What's her heritage?
I think she's part. I think her dad's mixed. I think with maybe Indian. I can't remember 100%.
It looked like she has she's not like fully Caucasian or anything like that. So I think there's how many diverse people are in the house? 8, 9.
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily. I would say Austin is white passing. I don't think that she has any the same.
I mean, there's like the people talk about visible minority. It's like she's not visible, but she is diverse. I mean, if you are 1/4 or 1/8, or I mean, as long as
what would she check off on a box? She would say most likely say white. She's not going to say other and be like, okay, my dad was born in Pakistan and da 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 da.
If you're 160, and you're of like, if she's like a or something like that.
Okay, I'm not gonna like go on about Austin being considered a person of color in this situation because I don't think she identifies with like in the same way that Latoya and even Victoria and Ty.
Oh no, of course, that's the visible aspect of it that I was saying. Yeah, it's very different, obviously, but.
So did Latoya's police experience work against her as opposed to Derek Lavasseur? Yeah, I think so, 100%, because where Derek is allowed, like men are allowed to not say too much, be a little bit more direct, and it's not traits that people appreciate in women, regardless of like ethnicity. I do think that her stoicness and her, she's not very malleable. She's very strong in her convictions, and that it's not a feminine, inviting quality.
Yeah. And I agree, but to be fair, I also didn't like Derek, but I thought that he
I don't like Derek, but he's better.
I don't like Derek, but I think that I definitely like than Derek, but I think that he was a lot smarter with his moves and less obvious than Latoya's being, and someone who to lie when needed and deceive when needed, which is good for the Big Brother game. So. But I with you, there's definitely a difference in sexes, and women don't get away with, whereas men do, obviously, especially white men.
Exactly. So BB says that Victoria targeted the trio, Latoya, Jed, and Ty, to break them up. Absolutely, because she wanted to swoop right in and become the Latoya in the situation. She didn't realize that Beth was somebody that was even more entrenched between the two of them.
Let me ask you a question. Does she know that Beth has been smooching?
I don't know. It's like a nighttime cuddle session. So I don't know.
Are people aware of that, or is that?
They're not really talking about it. I know that one of the reasons why Beth didn't want to make the flip happen where she wasn't voting with them is that she didn't want to have to pretend like she was mad about the flip happening and not being able to hang out with Jed and Jed and Ty.
Oh, okay.
So I think it's known that she's at least very comfortable with the two of them.
Right.
Jealousy of other relationships seems to be the talk factor for Victoria right now. I agree with that from what I've seen. She's not necessarily making great game moves. She's out on a mission to take out Latoya. And I do think it's jealousy for the position that Latoya is in with those two guys. Because I don't think it's best for her game because Latoya was never coming for her. She just wasn't. She wasn't on her radar at that point at all. So it must be something other than game smarts because...
Yeah, I mean, I think regardless of someone coming for you or not, when you realize that something's going on or forming that doesn't necessarily involve you, I mean, I'm not opposed to taking shots first. So I don't watch it, so I can't speak on that, but I don't think it's necessarily edited from what my opinion on TV. I don't find her to be jealous of anything.
Oh, it's pretty...
Is it smart what she's doing? No. But I love it, and I'm glad she's doing it, Victoria. But it doesn't seem, as just a viewer not watching any live feeds, to come from a jealous place. So that might just be the edit. I don't know.
It's the edit for sure, because she does say that she's annoyed that Beth is now in with those two guys. So like she's like really wants to be in it. And why would Jed, because Jed to me doesn't come off as the smartest guy in the world, why at the end of the episode does he say it's a jealousy thing? Like even Jed saying it's a jealousy thing, and I just don't think that he would be that like you know, socially aware to know if it was something that was completely subtle.
I mean, we haven't yet, but Jed did a great job at the veto.
I know. Okay, so Veto picks our tie. Latoya gets house guest choice. She gets to choose Jed, and then Austin is the other person playing, and then the two nominees, obviously Latoya and Kiefer. And this is a great competition. Like I love it. It has a little bit of physicality in it. I love crossword puzzles. It's easy. You have all the pieces there. Go ahead.
Love scratch offs.
Love the scratch it. Yes. I was like, yay. I definitely would be into that one, and it's very winnable by anybody. Even though there's the stairs part that could be tiring, like you could still play and win regardless of how great your physical abilities are.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was just the right amount of everything. There's a little bit to it because you're like nonstop up and down stairs and whatnot. There's a lot of smarts. There's people who you have to be good at crosswords. It's like, you know, some people right away were eviction. Other people were like, it was like, oh, that's Thursday. You know, it's kind of like I love crosswords. I'm not terrible at them, but I'm not amazing either. And I thought what Austin was doing, kind of laying it out there first, was smart, but at the same time, you need to start putting like the bottom ones in. And I think she really fell behind with that. It was hard to see how far along everyone was with the edit, and it seemed like he was miles ahead of everyone else. And he just didn't make any. I was waiting for a mistake to happen. I thought he was gonna have to start off. Didn't happen. I mean, he was great at it. So, such a good competition. That's what I was talking about when I was at the last competitions last week. I'm like, something fun, something more fast paced, something that is winnable for anyone, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so that was like the round of everything for me. That was great.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It was a great competition. I was really excited that Jed won because that's like, you know, basically what they wanted to happen.
I was
Surprised that people did so poorly because like it just didn't seem like it was all that difficult. The clues were pretty basic and like the answers were quite simple. So I'm just surprised that everybody wasn't close to finishing. Like he was the only one that was really in contention.
It seemed like everyone was kind of at the same part outside of him. Like, you know what I mean? Like he just seemed much better than everyone else, and everyone was like closer together. So anyway, so yeah, I just think he was really good at it. I was like, I was like, this is fantastic, and they spent a lot of time on it, and they were like, I'm so happy with things like that. More competitions like that. Good job. Give them a raise, whoever came up with it. Perfect.
Yes.
But it's a sponsored one. It's a sponsored one that was good. It wasn't,
Yes.
you know? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a good sponsored one. OLG, like you're at least the two OLG comps that we've seen so far, I've liked them both. I think that they're both smart competitions that I guess I enjoy when I can kind of play along with it. I find that entertaining for myself. So whoever's coming up with these, maybe there's like an OLG representative that's in there in the brainstorming sessions with Trevor Boris, and they're coming up with some good stuff. So hopefully there's still more good stuff to come.
Good stuff. I do want to say so it's now forgiven because this made up for it. I'm watching the HOH because I don't speak to I haven't spoken to you since last week about it, but the clouds that they see over, especially the shorter girls in the HOH, had to move sides, and even Latoya at one point was like on her tippy toes to kind of see the screen because it was low because the cut out clouds ahead in the front were blocking it. I was like, come on. I'm like, you haven't tried this out with people of their height, and to like, are you not? I'm sure you're running trials like they do in every competition, like Survivor. They have like people run them, right? So I'm like, this was not well thought out as far as I couldn't see the full board. So, but this week, you know, with the last competition being that and having that and seeing that, I was like, ooh. And then this one, I was like, oh no, it's perfect. This is great. Very happy about it.
Yes, me too. They definitely did an excellent job, and hopefully there's more great competitions to come. So, as we said, Jed wins this. He says you don't get arms like this just from lifting because he has a crossword app on his phone. So do I, just saying. I actually used to be addicted to crossword puzzles in high school. I made my mom get the Toronto Star every day so I could do the crosswords every single day. And at lunchtime at school, I just loved crosswords. So I used to do a crossword every day for years.
I would do the easy ones, like the ones that you would find in the magazine at the movie theater, where it was just like celebrity names. I'm like those. I mean, because it's its own crosswords. It's like Scrabble. Like, did you know QI was a word, or whatever the case? You know, like weird things like that, and people use those tricks all the time. So if you're not that this helped, but just crosswords in general, I'm like, I enjoy the easy ones.
I know. I used to, like, my best friend in high school, her dad is a super genius. And so he was teaching us how to do cryptics when we were like 12. Like 12 and through, I guess we're 16 because she left because she was pregnant at 16. So we were learning how to do cryptic crosswords, which those are hard. Like, they're really hard. When you get it, it's like your brain is like on like a, like, it's so like, it's, yeah, your brain is definitely warped, but it's very satisfying when you get a cryptic crossword done. So Jed is celebrating in the room after Kiefer comes in and picks him up and hugs him. They're all pretty excited. And Victoria's talking to Austin and I think Brayden about the fact that she is going to most likely try to convince him that she's going to put up either Beth or Ty. And I think this is obviously a good plan. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, Victoria won me over when she was like, "Great, this is worst case scenario. I need some chocolate," and I was like, "Victoria, you and me both, girl. Like this is honestly." And then it was kind of like, this is why I'm liking Victoria more and more and more and more. It's like, and then she's like, "What? This is what I have to do," and I'm gonna have to be like, this is, you're going to be put up otherwise, or like I'm going to have to just strong arm them into not using the, and I was like, what a great kind of, like thing to see. And I'm like, and I love people kind of being strong and making those decisive decisions and sticking with, I mean, again, sure, argue that it's not great gameplay, whatever. I love it. And it's a very Janelle move to me. I'm not calling her Janelle, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying it's a very Janelle to me, and when I see that in someone, I celebrate.
The thing is, though, with Janelle, though, I don't think, just because she goes after people that are targeting her, that are coming after her, and I don't think that that's the same case with Victoria here. So I can't really see her in that light. Yes, maybe
So
like being like,
let's
do, and I'm going to make this decision and I'm going to make sure that this happens. Yeah, that's Janelle. Like, I'm sticking my heels in the ground and I'm making it happen.
Having the balls to like do something like that you normally don't see in seasons because people play it safe. That element to it that you don't see very often is the Janelle element that I'm talking about. It's not necessarily the whole gameplay or anything about the person other than that element, but having, that kind of thing. This is what I'm doing, and I thought she was going to crumble when they came in there and all that stuff, and she stuck to her guns, and I was like, yes, Victoria, yes.
See, we're gonna be so against this until she goes home.
That's
like, a chance that she's winning this.
You know what? Reality Pop needs views from both.
Wait, what? You cut out.
I said Reality Pop needs both sides, so it's nice having opposing views.
Fine. It's true, but like, I just can't wait for her to leave the game next week. And I'll just be like,
I'm all Victoria, Austin, Rohan, Kyle.
Yeah.
I like, yes, yeah, all of them.
I hate them all. It's so funny. But yeah, I just said because I just don't like them, how they act in power. It's so funny.
Brayden, I think in the best position because he is definitely like with certain people so under the radar that I think he could flip if needed.
Yeah.
Brayden doesn't need to step up. Brayden needs to stay as is. He's not rocking any boats. you know, he can definitely, like I said, he has people behind him, but at the same time, if he needed to flip for whatever reason, I think he could. So I think he's in a great.
He's in a great spot. He's not. I don't think he's going to flip. I think he's only super loyal to Austin. But I think that that's all he really needs. Canada really likes him. He just received the skip the dishes luxury prize, I guess we can call it, where he gets to be off a slot for the rest of the week, and then he gets to choose a meal from skip the dishes that he was going to have delivered to the Big Brother house. They watched it on the app, so they got their full-on product placement going in full force there. I was happy that he got that because he's the one that would appreciate it the most. He hates slop the most, so I was happy that he got it. Did you vote?
No, but at the same time, I'm always like, I feel like you're condemning people when you vote because you're like, you're really they're Canada's favorite, and that may come into play later on and get them some advantage. You never know. So I'm always like, ooh, I'm happy that he got it for sure, 100%. But I was also like, oh, I hope people just, forget about it quickly.
I don't think people are thinking about it. I think that he's probably annoying on slop, and they're probably happy that he's getting fed.
Well, if it happens again and he's picked again, then it might be a thing. So,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
slop would be terrible. I couldn't even do that.
So right before we kind of finish off this episode, so Victoria calls the boys in after Jed wins the veto. Well, Jed goes in to talk to Victoria. She says, I want to speak to Ty as well. Ty goes and gets him, or Jed goes and gets Ty from outside. Austin gives like a knowing look, like, oh, we know what's going down here. And basically what your favorite moment probably of the episode is Victoria doubling down here and saying, like, I have, my hands are tied here. If you, or no pun intended, but if you take Latoya down, I have to put up Ty because there's no reason. Like then Latoya can't flip this boat and get
smart. It was smart reasoning because I was like, oh, what excuse or reason will she potentially come up with? And that's where I thought she would back down, and then just where she was like, because I think a legitimate, like, this has already happened once. So you're taking stuff that already happened, using it against the situation. I thought that was
this internet is killing me. It's killing me.
I was just saying I thought it was genius. I thought it was taking something that already happened and then using it as a valid point. Yeah, that's perfect. Like, it's valid.
So they were frustrated, obviously, and they leave. They'd come back, and is that when they came back? All of them? Yeah, so they go and they're talking about it. Latoya is realizing that she definitely must be the target. Like, why would she be forcing them to leave her up there if that weren't the case? If she's saying that she wants to work with Latoya and that Kiefer's the target, Latoya's hearing that she's the target. And so basically we're left at Jed, Ty, Toya, and Beth go up to speak to Victoria, trying to change things that are happening here, or like allowing her to, not use it on, if they use the veto, that she won't put up Ty. Okay, well, should I put up Beth then? Obviously, Beth doesn't want that to happen. And then we hear the announcement saying head of household or veto ceremony in an hour and to be continued. Bum, bum, bum.
You want me to put up Beth? I can put up Beth. And they're all like, I don't care. Don't you? Beth, but like, I'd rather.
I would love for Beth to go up there. That would have been my ideal, like how this week played out. Just because I want Latoya
It's a bit of a waste, though. It's a bit of a waste. But yeah, I mean, Beth could go, but it's a bit of a waste. And I think Austin had a great point where she's like, Beth thinks that she has us or can work with us potentially, whereas, yeah. So I thought that was a really good point where she's like, but Ty is definitely like on that side with so yeah. Oh, and then the to be continued.
Yeah, why? I mean, definitely you're right though. It was a pretty explosive episode. Like, a lot of things went down. I'm really unimpressed about the to be continued because I actually think that's like a downer. Like, they just let the episode have its normal swell. We're not going to be that invested.
We're gonna tune in next week next episode anyway, which tomorrow. So it's like, calm down. You don't need to like have this cliffhanger. You can just let me either sit with it, like, for myself, be like, oh yes, this happened, can't wait to eviction. Or maybe you're like, oh no, or depending on what happens, right? So
Yeah.
like we could have just sat with whatever the result was for 24 hours and wait until eviction.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's another thing too, is that like thinking about what they're going to be doing, like, oh my God, if this person, like these are the two people are on the block, let me start strategizing in my head, like what can they do to think that's going to happen, and then get the lead up into the eviction. Now we don't have enough time, like we'll have like what, 23 minutes in order to be thinking about possible scenarios. Like I'm just not sure why they're editing it this way. I'm just not sure.
And it feels like tomorrow will be jam-packed with a bunch of things going on. So
it has to be an endurance, because they'll probably just do 1 minute at the end of the competition, or at the end of the episode.
I mean, although I would love a good endurance, because it's going to be a week where it's like, if you need it, a lot of people need it, and you want it,
you
better stick it out. So I think it's a good time for an endurance.
I definitely want to see an endurance. I wouldn't, but could be good for Austin. I know you want Austin to win, but I wouldn't want her to win. I maybe want Beth would be more interesting of a head of household, I think.
I mean, I'm fine with Kyle, Ro.
I can't hear your people. I hate them all.
I'm fine with one of my people winning. But can Victoria win again? No. But we also didn't talk about, and I just want to briefly mention, because I'm only on here once a week, that I didn't love how they only did the teams for 2 weeks. I was like, and I know you called it, because you were like, I can see them only doing it for 2 weeks. But I was like, minimum 3, probably 4. I just don't like how that disbanded so early. It's like, I don't love when they're like, it's a big thing for 2 weeks.
Feel any better, other than the threat of putting Ty or Beth, she did promise all the original Destiny members that she wasn't going to put them up on the block. So it's still kind of a Team Destiny one as HOH.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely sets something in place, but it's not definitive. Like, you can go back on certain things. So I don't know. I just wish they held it out for another week or two. I just hate, like, Survivor's had it before too, where they do something or like some tribe swap and it lasts literally 2 episodes and you're like, oh, okay, it's almost not worth it, It feels gimmicky. It feels gimmicky.
It is. Well, it's a gimmick. Duh.
I know, but it feels it. It's like, if you're gonna like con me, I mean, like, do a good job of it, that kind of thing. So it's like worth it. Then I'm like, you deserve my time. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
But when you feel it, when you're like, oh, something kind of makes it cheap. It's cheap. Big Brother Canada.
It's Big Brother edited version. It's pretty cheap. Anyways, I'm talking to you about Big Brother, even though I'm completely against all your opinions so far this season. I still enjoy talking to you and trying to make you see the light. And hi, Rylan. Nice eye.
Yeah, he's just decided to come and join in.
Well, for the hi. What?
I was just gonna say, I'm like, I kind of like that we have very differing opinions on the season and who we like, and it's a little bit of a battle.
I'm just like, I'm gonna have to come in guns blazing next week with some evidence as to why your people suck.
Let's do it. Yeah, I mean, I can't wait. I'm really excited. This is like the best start for me for Big Brother Canada that I've ever seen. I mean, it's really compelling to watch, and it's just been the first couple weeks, so yeah, it's great.
Absolutely. And I'm just curious if it's going to be able to maintain this if they start taking out all the people that are doing things in the game. That's the thing. So thanks everybody for joining me and Jonathan on the block here at Reality Pop. Please do us a favor. Obviously, thank you for watching, but subscribe, because Reality Pop is going to be your new hub for all things reality. And join us tomorrow, where on the block is going to be JoJo with me, and we're going to be talking about the eviction episode, and I guess the veto ceremony.
Yeah.
Well, I guess.
They cheated me out of that, Big Brother Canada.
Well, if you want, though, Jonathan, you can come hang out with us too. Anytime, you're always more than welcome. So if you want to come in so you can have your 2 cents in there tomorrow, you are more than welcome, of course. So please subscribe over there. Feel great. Love you. Till tomorrow. Sayonara.